Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, thanks once again for joining us for Sunday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. Cold temperatures expected tonight. South Central Alaska, Copper River Basin. Forecast low for Anchorage, 3 degrees below zero. Got to go back to November 18th of last year since we were that cold. And Gulkana, 24 below. They were that cold last month on the 22nd. Otherwise, Kenai forecast low of -10. Kodiak, 15. And there's 12 below forecast for Soldotna. And satellite imagery yesterday showing some moisture moving mostly across the northern southeast coast, showers down to the south. Another system developing there off to the southwest. Band of clouds coming westward here across the Kenai Peninsula on down into the Gulf of Alaska. The very strong winds, Kodiak Island gusting again 80 to 90 miles per hour at the peak, and then an area of snow up to the north there, gradually diminishing with the skies clearing from west to east. And those clearing skies led to some pretty chilly temperatures up in the interior this morning, into the mid-30s to 40 below. Otherwise, we had that front coming across the Bering Sea there. And today that's pushed eastward, actually kind of the flow south to north here, big upper level high over interior Alaska. And you can see the flow is south to north, but everything's edging its way eastward, the pattern there. Low pressure tracking north there just west of the Pribilofs. That's actually going to stop and then start pulling back to the southeast here tonight and into tomorrow. Otherwise, this upper low sliding southeastward. And most of the moisture went into the south of the Panhandle, although some snow did get up into the southern areas, a couple inches or so falling down over the southern southeast coast, Ketchikan over to Klawock there, and some snow showers today grazing the western coast. Otherwise, that's about it, and that whole mess sliding southeastward. Clear and cold over the interior, winds coming down, especially Kodiak Island from what they were yesterday. Still see some outflow winds by that cloud streak here from Kamishak Bay across the Barren Islands. High stuff spreading in over the Yukon and Kuskokwim Delta areas. Northward, big increase in the winds today for St. Lawrence Island, seeing gusts 60 miles per hour. On the chart, that due to that front and the tight gradient in advance of it, they're kicking those winds up, blowing snow. Snow hasn't started yet there, but it's about to, just off to the west and south. Southerly flow, warmer temperatures, warm front bringing rain to the Pribilof Islands, rain down to the east or to the Unalaska area, eastern Aleutians, and Nikolsky, where they picked up about a quarter of an inch of rain at St. Paul today. Unalaska had about 1600ths, and then as the front came through over there at Adak, they picked up a third of an inch. So really not a big rain producer, more of a wind thing up here, especially over the northern Bering Sea. And then the showers with this trough over the southern southeast coast there. And again, that all moving to the southeast. Big, strong Arctic high center now slipping in to the Yukon there toward the Mackenzie River Delta. Pretty high pressure, or pressure is fairly high, 1,048 millibars. And tonight, that should reach 1,050 millibars. That's about 31 inches on your altimeter there. Otherwise, clear and cold again through much of the interior. Could see some locally gusty winds here along the Alaska Range, eastern Alaska Range area, and still breezy here over the northern southeast coast. Less wind, still a chance of snow showers there over the southern Panhandle. This front right up to the coastline, winds pick up southeast. In fact, there's a blizzard warning out tonight, extends until 3 p.m. tomorrow for St. Lawrence Island. Winds gusting 60 miles an hour. Could pick up 4 inches of snow, so with the wind and that snowfall, looking at visibility is reduced to a quarter mile or less, maybe even whiteout conditions at times later or tonight through tomorrow in that area. Wind and a chance of snow along the southwest coast, maybe a little bit better chance for Nunivak Island. Precipitation on the increase here across Bristol Bay and coming in along the Alaska Peninsula. Warm front could probably just spread some clouds up to Kodiak tonight. And moving ahead to tomorrow, better chance of some moisture reaching Kodiak, starting out of snow and then trending toward rain as that warmer air moves in with it. Areas of snow across Bristol Bay and along the Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula becoming lighter as you head west. Maybe some scattered to isolated snow showers there for the eastern Aleutians. And again, tomorrow afternoon, those winds will be coming down for St. Lawrence Island. But this band of snow, the remnants of that front, probably will keep periods of snow. Again, looking for 4 inches by tomorrow afternoon of new snow for the island there. Just to the east, Bering Strait should stay clear with VFR conditions. Seward Peninsula, another day, much like today, over the interior, all the way up to the Arctic coast. Offshore flow made for some pretty good VFR today up there. A lot of clear skies in the observations. That'll continue tonight and tomorrow. And that'd been any other time of year, you probably would have seen a lot of sunshine. Otherwise, this weak trough, look for some snow showers and clouds to begin to increase along the North Gulf Coast tomorrow, and especially the southern coast of the Kenai Peninsula. Moisture increasing even across Kamishak Bay into Iliamna Lake here and over to the Yukon Delta. Otherwise, the Panhandle, clear, chilly with northeast winds, especially over the northern areas, continuing. Gusts to about 60 miles per hour at Eldred Rock earlier today from the north there in Lynn Canal. Probably it'll be a little bit lower than that tomorrow, but I think they're still carrying gales. Much lighter winds down to the south with sunshine. Out to the west, just a flat ridge of high pressure, a lot of clouds, and a little bit of moisture, warmer air coming in on the southwest winds. So could be an area IFR with that mess there, mostly north of the Aleutian chain. And looking ahead to Tuesday, that low pulls into the Gulf of Alaska. Colder air comes back down behind it, so very low snow levels, I'll put it that way, for Kodiak Island. Moisture riding right up to the southeast coast, increase in the wind, especially along the north coast and the North Gulf Coast there, with pretty good chance of snow moving in with that, maybe becoming mixed in the afternoon, Port Alexander to Sitka. And even moisture back here to the west, kind of an upper level trough coming southeastward here with the big upper ridge up to the north, getting northeast flow. So that's why the snow is as far inland here on the upslope area, the western Copper River Basin in toward the Wrangell Mountains. Pretty good chance of snow with that disturbance pulling southwestward. Prince William Sound, Valdez, I don't know, maybe flurries, but western Prince William Sound, maybe a little bit better chance. And then snow showers along the Alaska Range, spreading toward the southern Kuskokwim Mountains. To the north, though, another clear and cold day. Again, the Arctic coast, clear skies, VFR once again. Out to the west, high pressure here over the Bering Sea. Light winds, pretty nice day coming up Tuesday for Adak and Atka. Maybe some sunshine. St. Lawrence Island, much better right under that surface ridge there, so much lighter, more variable winds. No snow, but still kind of chilly on the temperatures. The next system out here way to the west, getting directed north into Russia, so we're kind of falling back into a rather quiet weather pattern. For the southeast coast, temperatures today range from 19 there at Skagway to 30 degrees at Sitka. Lower 30s there for the southern areas with Klawock at 33 and Annette 34. Teens, North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, like 10 to 15 above, 15 at Seward, same thing at Homer. Lower 20s, up a little from yesterday for Kodiak, 24. Single numbers, Cook Inlet 5, Kenai 3, and Palmer -9 at Willow this afternoon. 7 above at Talkeetna. McCarthy -8. Temperatures in Tanana Valley just 33 degrees below zero this afternoon at 4 p.m. there up at Fairbanks, and they came up from a low of 35, 36 below this morning, and that's the coldest it's been since the 2013 to 14 winter season, I believe. Otherwise, to the north, a few clouds up here kept Fort Yukon at -17. Arctic Village, though, down to 35 below, -36 in Umiat Airfield. and well below zero up even along the Arctic coast. Warming southeast winds kicking up pretty good there at Point Hope this afternoon. 5 above zero, -9 at Kotzebue, 2 above at Nome. And these gusty winds along the southwest coast, mostly easterly there. Temperatures just above zero, so wind chill's pretty low. In fact, there's a wind chill advisory continues tonight for the Broad Pass area here. Well, actually in the Broad Pass area, it's well north of the Sitna Valley. And for out west, temperatures upper 30s, the Pribilofs, lower 40s this afternoon there for the Fox Islands. Near 40 all the way out to the west. About the same for the Alaska Peninsula, milder air coming in 42 at Unalaska, as I mentioned. Temperatures probably rising up into the lower 40s tonight there ahead of that front for the Alaska Peninsula, but you can see one below at King Salmon this afternoon. Lows for tonight, again near 40 here for the Alaska Peninsula, coming up from what you have now. Dropping though down to 10 below there, northeast Bristol Bay. Interior temperatures 35 to 45 below zero. Yukon Flats to the eastern north slope, probably in the mid-30s below zero again for the Tanana Valley. Copper River Basin down possibly as low as 30 below in some areas. Teens and single numbers over the northern panhandle to lower to mid-20s down to the south. And for the highs tomorrow, another cold one up there, up well below zero, 25 to 35 below. Yukon Flats northward to the north slope, staying below zero, but maybe up a little from today there for the Arctic coast. And single numbers here in the southwest, warming into the lower 20s for Bristol Bay tomorrow. 0 to 10 south central Alaska to maybe near 20 along the coast. And then again, a big range here across the panhandle, 11 degrees there at Skagway and Haines to 25 down at Klawock. And for flying weather tomorrow, with that front right along the coast, IFR here from Cape Newenham up to St. Lawrence Island, heaviest up here, of course, with the blizzard warnings out. Possible IFR along the Alaska Peninsula, marginal VFR, mostly off the coast of the south or the North Gulf Coast here, and then more marginal conditions out to the west. And then we'll see tomorrow that area IFR gets up through here, but shifts southward as that system drops into the western Bristol Bay area. So we're looking at IFR here from Cape Newenham eastward to Dillingham. Again, along the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, again with that warm front spreading moisture in there. And starting to improve tomorrow afternoon there for St. Lawrence Island. More IFR out to the west, otherwise VFR for the Panhandle, all the way up into the Arctic. Passes all open, all VFR tomorrow. Adigan, Lake Clark, Merrill, Rainy, the entire Alaska range will be VFR tomorrow, as well as, of course, Tanita and Portage, VFR also. Chilkoot and Wyatt, another VFR day, probably for the next 2 or 3. And for the freezing levels, only at the surface about all that is on here. Up north now, coming back north, Nunivak Island with that weakening front, just staying south of Kodiak Island and then up and down the southeast coast, 2,000 feet way out here towards Chimianatu. Icing, areas of light to very isolated moderate rime, spreading into Kodiak Island, increasing here for Bristol Bay, and then back along the weakening frontal boundary out towards St. Lawrence Island. And then the upper air chart, jet stream, big upper high here now centered over the northwest part of the state. The upper low here with that system coming southeastward to about this position associated with that low. Offshore flow keeps it dry and cool there over the Panhandle. Otherwise, westerly winds out there up to 150 knots coming out of Japan, but that splits right here, so that's going to take a portion of that system, continue to direct it northward. The other portion will drop down to the south, so we're into kind of a quiet weather pattern for the next couple of days. 9,000-foot winds, easterlies 5 to 10, pick up to 35 knots right here through the central interior, then turn southeast to south up across the Chukchi Sea. Light winds for the North Gulf Coast, even the Gulf of Alaska, Kodiak Island, maybe some easterlies at 25 along the north shore of Bristol Bay, coming back around 20 to 25 across the eastern Aleutians on out toward Atka and Adak. Light winds aloft there for the Panhandle. Also at 3,000 feet, the same thing, the stronger winds now off the south coast on down to the south. Light winds, Gulf of Alaska, North Gulf Coast. So looking at this easterly band here, 25 to 30 knot winds through the central interior. Easterlies 30 knots, Cape Newenham. Westerlies 25 on the south side of that low. Northwest 30 for the eastern Aleutians. And for turbulence, area of mechanical turbulence here below about 4,000 feet. Eastern Tanana Valley along the Alaska Range, on out across the Seward Peninsula, of course, St. Lawrence Island. Again, starting out probably moderate up here, and that'll be improving to less than moderate tomorrow afternoon as the winds start to slowly come down. Moderate chop continues here. Areas of light to very isolated moderate chop there in northern Bristol Bay. Aleutian Range all the way back out to Nikolsky, and that'll be creeping in towards southwest Kodiak Island. And also those continued gusty north winds here over the northern panhandle, that'll make things a little turbulent there. After the break, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts and ice edge.
Proximity is how close. How close is the reported weather to the airport? Well, it's assumed to be happening at the airport, so you usually will not see a proximity indicator. Sometimes, however, you will see one. You'll see the abbreviation VC for vicinity. If you have precipitation that is not actually falling on the observer's head, but it is located within 10 miles of the airport, it will be reported as showers in the vicinity. VC for vicinity, SH for showers. You'll know that there's precipitation somewhere between where the observer is standing and 10 miles from the airport. It could actually be on the airport, but it's just not at the observer's position. Now, vicinity means something a little bit different for other weather. Other weather like fog and dust storms and other types of things that are not precipitation have a different rule for vicinity, because here VC for vicinity means occurring between 5 and 10 miles from the center of the airport runway complex. For instance, VCFG, standing for fog in the vicinity, means the fog is occurring not at the airport, but somewhere between 5 and 10 miles from the center of the airport runway complex. Speaking of fog and of mist, there are some restrictions on the use of descriptors. The most significant one of these is that mist, BR, will never be used with a descriptor like shallow or patchy, something like that. So when a descriptor is used to describe fog, fog, FG, will always be used, not mist, regardless of the visibility within the fog. So if you have 3 miles visibility with patchy fog, how is that going to be coded? It's going to be coded 3SM, 3 statute miles visibility, BCFG for patchy fog, bits and chunks of fog, but you will never see BCBR because mist, BR, is never used with a descriptor, the descriptor being the BC for patchy fog. Now, you may have noticed that there is no identifier for ground fog and no descriptor to create it exactly. The best that you can do for ground fog is MIFG, which would be shallow fog. MI for shallow and FG for fog.
Let's talk about a couple rules that'll be helpful in deciphering METARs. You knew we'd talk about rules, didn't you? Actually, these rules will really be helpful. Rule number 1 is you always get the worst news first. That's kind of the way life goes, isn't it? Here's the way they're going to give you the information. First of all, they will tell you about tornadic activity, then thunderstorms, then the present weather in the order of decreasing dominance or importance to the pilot. So it's going from bad to less bad. It's still bad, but going to less bad. Now, they can give you a maximum of 3 groups. Let's take a look at how this might work. First of all, here we have a tornado. By the way, tornadoes are considered to be other weather, but they're reported in the first group when they're observed, and you can see why right here. So here's the tornado. That's the plus FC. And here we have plus TS RAGR. Well, that is a thunderstorm with heavy rain and hail. And then we have a separate group for fog. So other than that, we're having a great day here, and you can see we have a maximum of 3 groups. That's the most that's allowed. Now let's take a look at rule number 2. Rule number 2 says precipitation and obstructions to visibility are always in separate groups. So if you had both some kind of precipitation and some kind of obstruction of visibility, you're going to have at least 2 groups. Here we have light rain and snow and a separate group with the obstruction of visibility. Now, if there is more than one obstruction of visibility, you're going to get yet another group, because if there's more than one obstruction of visibility, they are coded in separate groups. So if we add haze to this, we have yet another group, and now we've got our maximum of 3 groups. Now, other weather is also in a separate group. For instance, if you had squalls, it goes in a separate group like so. Now we've got it all figured out. Let's take a look at our METAR and see if we can make sense out of the weather. And it's very easy. We have thunderstorm with rain, and it's moderate rain and mist. And it's that easy now that we've got it figured out.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a
with seas up to 7 feet. And for Bristol Bay tomorrow, east winds 30 knots, heavy freezing spray there. West winds here for the Bering Sea side of the Alaska Peninsula, southwest 25 there in the Pacific side, and southerlies from Castle Cape to Sitkinak at 30 knots with seas 12 feet. And then for Tuesday, north to northwest, small craft advisory level winds blowing across the peninsula with 9 to 10 foot seas. Small craft advisories also northwesterlies there from Sitkinak to Castle Cape. North 20 for Bristol Bay, seas 4 to 5 feet. And for the eastern Aleutians tomorrow, for the Fox Islands, especially Unalaska Island, that's probably where we see the gales here. Otherwise, small craft advisories from the west coming down to 20 to 25, Adak, southwest 25, 13 foot seas over towards Shimia. And then for Monday, picking up again, that front edges eastward here, so I'll bring some gales into the far western Aleutians, probably west of Kiska Island, maybe Amchitka, but a big drop off here as you head east, and a pretty nice day, just light winds there for Adak, maybe some sunshine, 15 knot winds, seas really laying down, and small craft advisories, northwest winds again, mainly across Unalaska Island, lighter for the Nikolsky area with seas 10 to 11 feet. Up along the southwest coast, south of Nunivak Island to Cape Nuanam, easterly gales tomorrow, 35 knots, 10 foot seas. And really not much different along the entire coast up to St. Lawrence Island. 30 to 35 knots out of the east, heavy freezing spray all the way down the coastline northwest, coming down to 20 knots for the Pribilofs, 8-foot seas, and even lighter here for St. Matthew Island. And that was Monday. That was yesterday's forecast for Monday, because I remember the 45 knots. So I'll move on here to the Arctic coast. East, 15 to 20 knots on the east side. Southeast, pretty light here for the central and western coast. Then we've got 25 to 30 knot winds there from Wales all the way up to Cape Beaufort with 5 to 9 foot seas. And again, heavy freezing spray. For the Tuesday outlook, coming down southeast 15 now from Wales to Cape Thompson. And 25 knots, small craft advisories, Cape Thompson, Cape Beaufort. Otherwise, southeast winds on the light side, 10 to 15. But increasing here, 20 and then up to 25 knots as you head over toward Kaktovik and Demarcation Point. For tonight again, a lot of clear skies up there, light winds, temperatures well below zero, VFR, and quite cold again. Temperatures 35 to 45 below Yukon Flats, actually from the Tanana Valley all the way up to the eastern North Slope. Winds diminishing here in the channeled areas where they were windy. The North Gulf Coast, of course, south central Alaska, staying pretty breezy there for the Panhandle. Still a chance of snow showers down over the southern areas. This front definitely brings a blizzard warning to the St. Lawrence Island area, which lasts through 6 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, or 4 p.m. with snow and gusty winds along the southwest coast, mixed precipitation from Bristol Bay. That system moves eastward tomorrow and brings an increasing threat of snow to Kodiak Island, Bristol Bay. No change over the interior, and sunny over the Panhandle. Then that changes, that system drives some snow up over the northern Panhandle and North Gulf Coast. Clouds and snow showers increase here, even back to the west. The northern interior stays nice. Have a great
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
When you pledge, you are also supporting Antiques Roadshow, great performances, Masterpiece, Nature, Nova, educational kids programming, and so much more. If you've yet to become a member, but watch a couple times each week, consider going online, picking a thank you gift, and supporting today. Our family and senior membership levels are perfect ways to begin, and you'll get 12 months of Passport, our online video player filled with exclusive PBS content. Thank you.